You're listening to What It's Like with Luce, a podcast highlighting ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host Lucy Norris, and on today's episode, I'm joined by a nutritional coach and personal trainer. Growing up a dancer, this week's guest was no stranger to living an active lifestyle. Exercising for fun, it wasn't until she discovered training as a way to distract herself from a difficult course that she unearthed her passion for fitness and nutrition. Educating herself and finding a job in a gym, she decided to start uploading her journey to social media, and that's when everything began to change. Realizing that her physical body changes were what kept her followers engaged, she developed an unhealthy relationship with food and exercise until a turning point came after a bikini competitor show. To share her story and her unique perspective on the fitness, health and diet industries, here's what it's like to be Nathalie Lennon. Welcome, Nathalie. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today. I think a good place to start, just to give a bit of context for everyone, if we chat a bit about your initial interest in fitness and whether it was a constant factor in your life or something you found a bit later on.
So I suppose growing up, it was subconsciously always a factor in my life, but I never viewed it as fitness. I was always dancing when I was younger, so I would have been pretty big into stage school. And now that people are always so aware of their daily activity levels and their NEAT and their net exercise activity thermogenesis, like I realize how much activity I done when I was younger because I was dancing so much. But I always just viewed it as fun and it was never a chore. So it was definitely a huge part of my life, but not in the sense that it was anything to do with my like physical image. It was just something that I really enjoyed doing. And it was only then as I got to my final year in college, a little bit throughout my Leaving Cert year, that I started to associate kind of fitness with physical image a little bit more. And then that was a period of its own then, which is a whole other kind of kettle of fish to talk about today, Lucy.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you were a dancer when you were younger, and how it kind of correlates into what you do with your life now. But can you talk me through maybe that decision? Because I believe you didn't go into college studying anything to do with health or fitness, and you ended up making that switch. So can you tell me about that and why you felt it was so important to educate yourself in that area?
Yeah, I guess when I was in school, so I had such a love for dancing, but like then as I kind of became a teenager, I didn't pursue it to the level that I ever would have to go like professionally with that. And when I was in kind of second year, third year, I was kind of like, okay, Nash, let's just do you know what? I have to apologize to everyone listening. If you can hear a bell, that is my kitten running around like crazy.
Oh, so
But yeah, so when I was in my junior cert year, I kind of decided, look, be sensible, go the right path, get educated, get a job, find a career path, XYZ. And I kind of let go of the dancing, done it for enjoyment. But then like when you're in your leaving certificate year, you're too young to know what exactly it is you want to do. At least I was anyway. I know some people from the get-go, they're like, I want to be a nurse or a teacher, but I never wanted to be anything in particular. And I went to the guidance counselor and I was like, I'm kind of interested in like nutrition, but I'm not very good at sports. You know, I don't think I want to do sports exercise. When it comes to the fitness side of things, when it comes to nutrition, I don't think I'll ever get the grades to really get into dietetics or anything like that. And I actually had all of those courses down. And then maybe 2 or 3 months before my leaving cert, completely changed my mind. And I was like, no, I didn't believe in myself. I was like, I'm not going to get the points for nutrition. I'm not going to enjoy sports courses because I was never a sporty individual. So I was like, look, I'm good at geography. Let's just put that down. So I put down like environmental sciences, geography courses, earth sciences in Trinity was what I put number one. And, you know, it's definitely a sign to everyone listening that you should believe in yourself more and try and chase whatever that passion is, and don't let kind of the normal societal paths talk you out of it. And because I actually would have ended up getting the points to go into study human nutrition and perhaps not dietetics, and even earth sciences, the course that I put number one, I didn't think I'd get the points for, and I did. And so I went and done it because it's like Trinity, it's obviously geography related, but I didn't do enough research into it really, Lucy. It was half geology, half geography. It was a new course. That was the first year they were going to have graduates from it again. So in terms of finding jobs, it was still a very grey area. And I'd done the course. There was 12 of us. It was, I think there was 12 by the end. There was 16 starting off. It was extremely difficult.
Yeah,
Now
I
I was
can
happy with
imagine.
how I got on, but I was always that person who would study hard. I was a studier, like, but I didn't have a passion for it. I finished it and I was like, almost hated it because it was just that difficult and caused me such stress that I just needed a break from it. And in my final year, fitness became my outlet for, you know, my study breaks. And the guy I was seeing at the time had left the country for a few months, so I needed a distraction. So that's when I got into the gym a little bit. And I started doing like these home workout guides by Kayla, it seems. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of her, but
Yeah.
right now she's blown up since. I think she had 6 million followers at the time. She might have, I don't know, 12 or 13 now. Absolutely girl crushing on the woman.
Yeah.
But started doing her guides, and that got me really into fitness because I suppose I was feeling the benefits mentally. I was getting more confident, you know, feeling more empowered, but probably most definitely slightly blinded by physical changes and letting them take over instead of looking at all the other benefits that were associated. And anyway, my passions obviously changed. I realized I really enjoyed exercising, wanted to help other people find the same confidence and empowerment I felt I had. But it all became a very twisted road because whilst I was a studier, I'd done the course, I became qualified, I started working in a gym, I got my own clients, my own relationship with fitness and food was becoming very complicated throughout that process. But I never let it affect my kind of client work and how I was helping others. But don't realize, I suppose, sometimes how hard it is for certain individuals to take on their own advice, especially in the coaching business.
Yeah.
So that was the way it all kind of went. And then along with my own fitness journey, I was kind of using Instagram to help document that a little bit. And I was really afraid, like, God, I think it was my 10-week like progress picture. I took a little like bicep curl in the mirror, and I remember posting it holding like a protein shake because at the time I thought protein shakes were like a necessity for anyone into fitness, which I've realized now they're not always a necessity. Um, and being from a small town on the countryside, I was like, what are people going to think? And I started to post a little bit more. Eventually, I posted like a before and after. I think it was when I got to week 18 or something. And I'm quite a personality type. So if I'm doing something, I'll go all out with it. And I was hell determined on kind of continuing up with her programs, and just got a little bit more confident in my posting as I started to get good feedback and people saying well done. And then I also got really self-conscious because, you know, I did hear things of girls saying this and saying that and slagging, you know, what goes on when you're young and like your late teens. But then Kayla, it seems, shared a before and after picture of mine to her own page. And that was the biggest boost I could have ever gotten to believe in myself and what I was doing. So then I started to kind of blog about it, I suppose, like Instagram post about it even more, but got very, very caught up in how the nutritional side of things and really tweaking your training program could change your physicals. And that's where I suppose things went a little bit south for a while because I got very caught up in macros and calorie counting, my body fat percentage, and wondering how I could keep inspiring people if my body didn't continue to change.
Can you tell me about that time when you did feel this social media platform that was kind of just happening for you, and you were enjoying it and putting work into it and just liking having it there to maybe, I know a lot of people say like an account for accountability and all that kind of thing, to it switching into something that was negatively impacting on your life? Do you remember kind of, you know, the exact time when that happened and when you first noticed like, oh, I'm actually this is messing with me a little bit?
I suppose because I saw like following growing, and it was growing because of my body, and the way it was changing. I definitely at the time was viewing my body as an ornament and not an instrument. And that's a quote that I've saw time and time again now that I just love, that your body is an instrument, not an ornament. But I was viewing it as the opposite and thought that it was my kind of vessel to growing my social media following. Um, and it's not like I had a particular like goal with growing my following. I was just a personal trainer at the time, and that's what I was really enjoying, which was in a gym. It's not like I really needed a following to pursue that business. But it was October 2016. I got kind of confused as to how I could continue to show everyone I could grind and I could work hard, and I was, this fit femme individual, and I'd done a bikini competitor show, um, which, yes, I wish I'd never done. However, it's been a huge part of my journey to be the coach I am today and learn about all the cons and negatives to a lot of the fitness and diet industry that we see when we scroll through. Um, so I'd say that was like a 10-week prep, and I got a coach. He was fantastic, but it was probably when I came to my 2 or 3 weeks pre the competition, I was kind of like, oh God, what have we done? I'm in this place where my eating is so controlled. My food is the very same every day. I am struggling not to binge and possibly suffering from a binge eating disorder that I'm just so strict with right now. But what's going to happen when I finish this competition? However, now here I stand with minimal body fat, probably no period, but I didn't know because I was on the pill. And everyone telling me, well, family telling me that, I look a bit gaunt, or why don't I eat this, or why don't I do that, or why don't I take a rest? And I was just so determined to reach the goal, stand on the stage, and then told myself I was a strong enough individual that like competing wouldn't affect me the way it affects many other females, because I thought I had it all together. But you just don't know until you reach that place. And that's why when people start counting calories or thinking about photo shoots and all of that world, I kind of say you don't know how it's going to affect you until you've already done it. And that's why you shouldn't. That's why you should always go a sustainable route. And I only know that from my own mistakes. But when it came to finishing that competition, I knew I needed to gain weight, I knew I needed to bulk, and I did, but very, very obsessively and very numerically, and still eating the very same foods became safe and fearful. And then there was binging on foods that were the ones I really wanted because they were the ones I was restricting. And although I was gaining back weight and looked healthy, that's where on social media I might have looked the like epitome of health, but I really wasn't. I was really struggling. And then struggling with the fact that I was struggling so silently. So that started a process of body insecurity and lacking body confidence. And one thing that I've realized over time is that body confidence, it comes from being sure that your habits are serving your health for the long haul, mentally and physically. And although I might have looked like mine were, they really weren't. So I was at probably my lowest point then. Almost I decided I would do a photo shoot because that was like, you know like quotations healthier, but it wasn't. I still done a really strict diet, and it was just because I was getting uncomfortable with a little bit of extra body fat despite still being in a very thin ideal like body. But I'd done the photo shoot, and it was after that I let go of the coach. I thought I would just find my own feet again, and I didn't. I definitely went down the path of an eating disorder. However, like when you say eating disorder, I feel like everyone kind of like winces and they're like, oh my God, it's such a serious term. But it wasn't anorexia or like bulimia at the time. There definitely was binges. It's an eating disorder that doesn't necessarily have a name, and that is pure obsession. It's obsession. Like I was happy to eat, and I would eat a good amount. Like I would track my calories to a T to be 2,300, but I was still extremely under fat and underweight because I was just obsessed with exercise. And there came a point that summer of 2017 that I was like, okay, get your shit together. It's not going to be easy because there's a voice in your head telling you you don't want to do that, but you need to. You need to set an example. Screw social media. get to a point where you're healing, then share it, then speak about it, and let this be your new journey. And that's what I started doing. So I went to see a dietitian that summer. I opened up to family, and it was a hard road, but once I started sharing kind of different sides of my journey to social media, then it got a little bit easier because people were really supportive. However, I did notice that social media definitely prefers an ideal image that isn't one that serves our mental health when it comes to trying to grow a following. So that's when I kind of gave up on pushing hard to grow um the way I was, and just focusing on posting what made me happy and what was healthy and what I thought would help prevent any young girl scrolling on Instagram go down the same path I would. But it's just very hard to sensationalize that message because it's not as sexy or fun. But I'm trying my best to continue putting the message out there and just share now a balanced lifestyle. Since then, Lucy, I've got a qualification in nutritional and health coaching, because I guess I realized, yes, fitness is a huge side of it. I'll forever love teaching and PTing if I ever go back down that route, but it's more so people's relationship with health and nutrition alongside exercise. It's that relationship that I've realized is what needs nurturing for most people, and making sure their habits are ones that they believe are sustainable, never restricted. No foods are safe, no foods are fearful. There's no food plan, there's no strict exercise plan. It's all something you know you can do forever. And that is how I think I became more confident, and I can help, my clients to become more confident, in realizing that their bodies are instruments and not ornaments. And I think that's the key to everything. So that's the long story, not so short.
No, I love that, and I love that quote that you just ended on there. It just makes so much sense when you put it that way, but you'd never think of it like that. And I think the whole social media thing is so interesting because, as you demonstrated there, you just never know what people are going through behind the scenes, especially, I suppose, in the fitness industry online. Everyone looks so healthy, so happy, so, just perfect, as you were saying, but then you never know how things are going. So I suppose off of that point, do you think that it is ever possible to enter the online fitness space and grow the way you did, to have thousands of followers without ever developing a negative relationship with food and with body image? Do you think that it's possible to do that?
um I think that it's becoming more possible. I think now, like 2021 versus 2017 on Instagram, things are really changing. And there is a lot more kind of body positive talk. There's a lot more sustainable messaging going out there. The likes of, Roz Purcell,
Yeah.
Victoria Neal, just to name two accounts that I absolutely love, Tally Rye. They are all preaching such a message. Like a message of such sustainability and health. Maeve Madden, and every single one of us have gone down the absolute opposite road. So I feel like a lot of kind of huge influencers or inspirers, shall we say, have completely changed their messaging, and their following has gone along that road with them. However, your news feed, your explore feed is what you decide. It's what you follow. It's what you decide to like and interact with. And if you never interact with an account like that, you're never going to see that material online. So for younger girls, if there's still accounts out there that are extremely disordered, like just preaching such an unhealthy message, and it hurts me to my core to watch it, and to see it, and to see people engage with it, and to still know that there's girls and women out there buying standard 1200 calorie meal plans and stupidly intense exercise programs and losing their period, and damaging their mental health and developing eating disorders because it looks good on certain pages. So it's a real 50-50 answer, Lucy. I think it can be possible, but we just need to work really hard to get younger girls to try and interact with that healthier content. Because no matter what we do, the fitness industry and diet industry are always going to be so far from the health industry. And it's very hard to get the tree to become Like, you know, when you see the three circles on like a diagram where they all kind of overloop in certain areas.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that type of diagram now.
Venn
But like
diagram, I think.
Venn diagram, my maths teacher would not be impressed from school if they were listening. Venn diagram. So there's definitely an area where I think the fitness, the diet, and the health industry circles can all have that common space and messages that serve everyone in the right way. But then there's areas which are all so far from each other. And even the health industry sometimes, or the wellness industry, gets kind of downgraded or spoken negatively about, because yes, some parts of it as well are always trying to find ways that people will always feel insecure and feeling like they're never well, so they always need to invest in something. um so I think it's just really important that people are aware that if they're going to invest in anything, be it a fitness program, the fitness industry, you know, a diet plan, which they shouldn't. A diet plan is not the right thing to invest in, but like the diet industry, and then maybe some sort of, you know, wellness product, the wellness industry, that whatever it is you're investing in, you're surrounding yourself with, you're using, it's sustainable and it will bring you forward in a positive way, long term, mentally and physically. It's just a message that's so hard to get out there, because aesthetics are so often confused with being health, and aesthetics and health should not be connected in any way, because they can often be the very opposite. Like just yesterday I reshared someone's picture on my story where it was talking about body fat percentages, and the ideal that is shared on Instagram is like 16 to 19% body fat on women. That's the range kind of you see most often on these, you know, workout guides. And I have my own workout guides, and I've been that body fat percentage on them. And that's typically what's required for females to show their abs. And that's all people ever want is abs, you know, to show their morning ab selfies and, you know, get the right lighting. But it's 20 to 22% body fat that women are at their most fertile and their body feels their most safe. Usually, there's always exceptions, that they'll have a normal cycle. Maybe you might have a small amount of abs showing, but you definitely shouldn't have a six pack. So it's a really, really hard one. Again, I've gone on a spiel, but the answer is the answer is maybe. But I just wanted to elaborate on that, I guess.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, well, this chat is already educating me so much, because I don't know that much about the
Yeah.
actual ins and outs of fitness. I would just be one of those consumers online, I suppose, that does see the aesthetics. And it's such an interesting point that you brought up there about the industries being separate. You know, like
Yeah.
fitness is not the same as the health industry, because I would have always lumped them into one. So I think it's really interesting that you've highlighted there that they're different and they don't mean the same thing. And I think then through explaining that to people, you can really see the difference in the accounts online, because there is so much focus on aesthetics. I suppose that's kind of the double-edged sword of it, because it is an image platform, it's a video, so people are just scrolling to see pretty things sometimes, but then, you know, they don't even realize the impact that it's having subconsciously. From another angle, in terms of just like business, or, you know, making a living out of something that you love, people could look at this and say, I know you've been doing it for a long time, but you know, the fitness industry online can appear quite saturated. So can you just explain to me maybe what makes your method different from all the other ones that are floating out there? And I suppose, yeah, how you developed it to be something that would stand out.
Yeah, I guess it's that's a really good question. It's really making me think. But I like to think that my honesty and my realness is something that helps my page stand out. Again, that's not always like the most attractive or sensationalized content. You know, I'm not going to undress and get the best lighting just to get, you know, that post that gets more likes or that hits the viral reach or whatever it is on the explore page. But I like to think that the fact that I don't do that anymore, and I'm so open about the fact that I did, is something that gives me a little bit of uniqueness on the platform the way it is. And I think it has definitely helped me from a business perspective, because I get a lot of clients saying, you know, I liked your approach because you're honest about things, you're real about things, you share your highs and your lows. And even from a business perspective, people are kind of like, we think that, you know, this would be a great brand for you to work with, because they're all about healthy living and balance and nothing obsessive. And they want to work with someone who is honest in what they do and educated at the same time. There is a lot of pages out there who are not educated to give dietary advice or health coaching advice, and they do anyway. And then their followers take it as just Bible because they look amazing. But that's where it goes back to the message of aesthetics and health. So yeah, I guess that would be my answer to that one. That's a question I've never been asked before. I really had to think about that one.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I just like I would have even just assuming from listening to your story thus far, can see where it differs because you've been through it all. You've kind of been through every side of it. So I suppose, yeah, this is another hard question to answer because as we were talking about before, we don't know when life's going to go back to normal and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you could peer into an ideal future, an ideal next few years, what's your mission? What's your goal? Where would you like to end up with all of this?
It is a difficult one because I feel like from 2017 to 2021, I have completely changed my business path. And I've been opened up a little bit to kind of the working with brand side of things, and trying to develop my own brand. Just last year, I launched my own workout programs, and I tried to make them like as sustainable as possible. So I launched my business, kind of relaunched the branding and everything as NLF, Nathalie Lennon Fitness. But the whole idea of balance and sustainability and bringing all of those three circles in our Venn diagram together, for me, those three circles were nutrition, lifestyle, and fitness. So lifestyle pretty much, being that double-sided sword for health. So they would be kind of my three pillars. NLF is nutrition, lifestyle, fitness, Nathalie and fitness. And I would love to keep building on my brand, and to become more known as a health and fitness coach in Ireland rather than, just someone who does the Instagram thing as well. But I would love to keep building on how I can kind of share my positive message and message of sustainability to more people as well. So building on my own business, my own brand, NLF, perhaps with some products down the line, and then continuing to just break out there, get my message out there, push the boundaries of my own comfort zone. Recently, I was working with a brand on Ireland AM, and I done my first demo. So it was a non-alcoholic cocktail drink. Um, like that for me was something completely new. I was like, am I going to
Yeah.
knock this over? It's live TV. What's going to happen here? But things like that, I would just love to keep building on. Because the more you push that comfort zone boundary, the wider it becomes, the more confident you become in every aspect of life. So that's the way I hope to go. But I'm definitely playing around with a few different ideas at the minute, and then I'll hopefully double down on one come the middle of this year.
Yeah, that sounds like a really exciting few years. And I'm sure it will all happen for you because you do have a really strong message of that sustainability. And I like the Venn diagram thing. I suppose, again, leading on from that question, do you have a personal definition of what success would look like for you in your life?
Ooh, do I have a personal definition? Like I do and I don't. People always say that money doesn't make you happy. So I'm not driven by just money. However, it's an aspect of kind of a business being successful. And not to do like a Beyonce on it and then saying, my goal in life is to be happy.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, it's to be happy, to be sure that the thing that I'm putting out there is helping others, and at the same time just to be making enough to be financially secure and not have to worry, or be able to help my family be more financially secure. I guess that is the simple, short and sweet personal definition of what success would be to me.
My last question for you, again, it's another deep one, really making you think this morning. It's not even 12 o'clock. But
Yeah.
if I put your 10-year-old self in front of you today, having been through absolutely everything that you've been through, everything that you've built with business, and then also just in life in general, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give that 10-year-old self moving forward?
Be brave and know your worth, I think. And there's so many times where I haven't been brave enough to put something out there or post something or, kind of knuckle down on the project that it's probably held me back, just not being brave enough to do exactly what it is I really want to do. And then knowing your worth, because along the way, no matter what industry you're in, there's going to be a lot of people that will try and knock you down, and if you're not strong enough, you'll be knocked down. um like, even when I put that in the case of kind of my eating disorder, I'm feeling like I had to follow social media kind of examples. I didn't, because I was better than that, and I should have known that. But I guess this is me talking to my 10-year-old self. Know that you are better than that. You don't need to follow the normal path. Be brave, stand out, and don't let anyone step all over you. Be that, in a business, or be that in a relationship. Don't be hurt. Know what you deserve, and don't stop chasing it until you find it.
Yeah, I love that. Those are such powerful messages. And I mean, if we could all go back to our 10-year-old selves and say things like that, life would be so much easier. But I suppose, oh yeah, but I suppose it's all in the learning as well, and that's what makes you into the person you are today. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything with me. As I said before, it's been so educational and inspiring as well. So I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucy. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening, and as always, please rate, share, and leave a comment if you like what you hear. And don't forget to follow @WhatIt'sLikePod on Instagram and Facebook. To find out more about Nathalie's programs, visit the links in the show notes. I'll be back on Thursday with more inspiring stories, but for now, this has been What It's Like with Luce.